oh my God, what is going on?
Mentally, you were gone for a long time. Dark place.
I remember so clearly sitting at the dining room table and you saying to me, Mom, there's something seriously wrong with me. Do some blood tests. For me as a doctor, it was probably the disease I feared most because it was so dangerous, life-changing. I was shocked out of my brain when it happened to you.
I couldn't think of a solution. I just wished it was me. It was my sugar, not yours. Because I could own it better than you could. And I couldn't change anything. I felt pathetic, as if I had no purpose, no direction, just as a dad would for a son. It was tough. I was what I thought was an expert. And then I really started to learn when you got diabetes, what it's all about.
In some ways, it may have been harder for you. People come to you with the problem, you operate, you fix it, they walk out with vision.
But when I look back now, I literally knew nothing. I'm embarrassed to say that as a doctor, but all you know is a few numbers, the clinical things. You don't know the nuance. You don't know what it really means. Just seeing how you handle the bad days and how you fly with the good days and how this too shall change and nothing is the same from one minute to the other. I see you as hope and I see you as the person that I had prayed for when you got type 1 diabetes. I prayed for somebody like you to be there, to guide us all, to give us the hope.
What's the advice you give to get from that feeling of my life is over, it'll never be the same again, to I'm going to live a great, happy, healthy, long life?
It's you. It's you. You are the model of overcoming adversity with diabetes. So you asked me to write a letter to diabetes.
Yes.
Dear diabetes.
Dear diabetes.
My guests today are my parents, Jill and Brian Harrisberg. They are both medical doctors with a passion for improving the health and the quality of life of their patients. So you can imagine how difficult it was for them when I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Before we get into this episode, I have to warn you, my mum is a crier, and I mean it when I say that. Just ask the box of tissues that got finished during this episode. This conversation was honestly therapeutic for us as a family. We spoke about things that we'd previously never spoken about before, not because we were intentionally avoiding them, but because the setting of a podcast with the cameras and the microphones demands full attention and presence without interruptions or distractions. I highly encourage you, the listener, to set aside the time to have a deep, honest, and open conversation with your loved ones. It may help to mimic a podcast setup with cameras and microphones, or simply use your iPhone. Even if you never intend to release it, it's worth the challenge, purely for the therapeutic benefits that a high-quality conversation can lead to. Make sure you stay around to the end of this episode to hear their Dear Diabetes letters. Wow, you'll see. To be honest, this conversation was not as uplifting and inspirational as I thought it would be, but it was exactly what it needed to be, raw and unfiltered. This podcast wouldn't be possible without the support of Medtronic. I'm incredibly grateful, not just for their technology, but for the people behind it. Medtronic puts patients first. They truly care, and I feel it. So to my Medtronic family, thank you. Okay, let's get into it. Here is your daily dose of my mum and dad. Well, before we begin, happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
How many?
43.
40,000 years?
43.
43 years. What's
40.
the secret to longevity in a relationship?
Humour.
Now, get married when you're a child.
When you're a
So-
child?
So you know no different. Humour, trust, and learning to fight well. Respectfully fighting.
That's interesting.
Because
When you say fight, you mean arguing?
argue.
Or
Disagreeing.
disagreeing.
I don't mean fighting.
Yeah.
Disagreeing.
Yeah.
Because all humans disagree.
Yeah.
You have to be able to do it well.
Yeah, that's pretty good advice.
I'd be happy to say we are equal partners. And that's a difference.
That's
Often
true.
there's a dominant, non-dominant. I'd say we're pretty equal.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think so.
Wow, this has turned into a relationship podcast. That was not the intention of this episode, but anyway. So 43 years, congratulations.
Thank you.
Speaking of years, 14 years ago, who would have thought we'd be sitting here talking about diabetes on a podcast? Kind of crazy, eh?
Well, first of all, I'd say we're immensely proud of your journey, and we've watched it evolve little bits at a time, and now it's certainly a business for you and your life combined. So congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's none of us would have thought that this would have happened. Let's go back and give some people some background into you guys. So both medical doctors, grew up in South Africa. So we'll start with you, Dad. How did you find the path of medicine? Like, what led you to start becoming a doctor?
Well, a tiny bit of background about South Africa, 1959 when I was born. It was a wonderful time. I was the youngest of 3 boys, and there was no stranger danger. We had no TV, and you just had big dreams. And dreams were, are you going to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, architect, businessman? And that was the limit of professional development. And very quickly I was into biology, math, science, and just fell straight into I want to be a doctor.
But not influenced by anyone in particular, just those were career paths that were options. You had obviously a natural attraction to medicine.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then, I think my mother had some influence. Yeah. She was an occupational therapist who was a frustrated non-doctor, and if she had an opportunity in a modern time, she would have been a doctor.
Interesting. Granny Joan. Talk to Joan. That sounds good. And what was your first sort of like attraction to medicine?
So mine was completely different to Dad's because my dad was a doctor and he was a very successful specialist, and I was born late in his life. So my whole life I grew up with this, iconic, famous doctor around. And my mom was a doctor by osmosis. She wasn't a doctor at all. In fact, she left university to marry my dad. She was only 18 years old. So she was such an intelligent woman, and she learnt so much about medicine. And we always used to call her a witch doctor, which in South Africa was a joke because a witch doctor was an African person who would make spells and make people better. And so for me, it was a natural progression. There's nothing else that I ever thought of doing. Fortunately, I had the marks to get in, and so there was no other question for me.
Yeah, so you grew up around it, you were exposed to it. On that note, how did you feel about me when I was like finishing school and going on the path to potentially becoming a doctor? We haven't spoken about this for a while, so this is interesting.
No.
Well, I didn't foresee you as a doctor.
Yeah.
And when you came with the qualification of exercise physiology, I was thinking, that must be a personal trainer. You can do that in 6 weeks.
I need a tissue, please.
Already? And we haven't even started talking about anything emotional at all. Here, you keep that
and
nice and
the first
close.
thing I said to you,
oh boy,
now what are you going to do?
Do you need tissues? Are you going to be
No,
crying
I'm all right.
today? Is
I'm
that
all right.
part of the plan?
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, I think because I remember, you guys will remember this, when I was traveling, I think I was in Thailand or somewhere, and you called me and you said, because there was a lot of pressure about being a doctor, which I was already feeling in a way.
Yes.
You're both doctors.
I apologize for that.
Your brother, your father, Laurie, like everyone in the family, just doctors everywhere. But I remember I was in Thailand and you called and said, there's the exam to get into medicine, the GAMSAT. Do you want to sit it? And I was like, I've been in Thailand for a few weeks here, like no study, definitely not in the right place to be sitting this exam. And then I did it when I got back because I felt kind of a bit of pressure to do it. And I'm so glad I failed because it was, when I look at sort of my life today, I don't think I would have been a good doctor.
So
I really don't.
To be honest,
way too selfish.
Dad and I have had this conversation many times, and I think obviously I wanted you to be a doctor because deep down that's kind of what my genetics knew, and it's, caring, and it's a passport to the world, as my late dad used to say. But what diabetes did to you or for you gave you the opportunity to give back to the world like a doctor might, but in your way. And the most important thing about that is that you were never shackled to an office or to a timetable, that you have the freedom to do you, the way you do it, and I'm really grateful you failed because I don't ever want you to do anything that you didn't want to do. And may I just say, the irony of it is we forced Laurie to do the GAMSAT as well, right? Because she said, I don't want to be a doctor, Mom. I don't want to live a punished life like you.
She said that?
Yep, because patients used to come to the house.
That's right.
And she hated it, and she felt it was intrusive and dangerous because of infections. And so she said, no, I don't want to be a doctor, and I'm not going to be a doctor. And then we kind of forced her to do it. And she literally had a Laurie tantrum doing the exam, and she failed it. And then...
I didn't know this.
Yeah. Well, you were younger. So she did it in her HSC year.
Did not know this.
Yep.
So when did she...
I didn't know this either.
Yes, you did.
So when did she sit it the second time?
Okay, so she sat it then, and then when she finished
Her patients right now, if they're listening to this, they're like crawling, knowing that their doctor failed the exam.
No, we get it failing.
And then when she when she finished nutrition, so her clinical nutrition,
That's right.
just a few months before she was going to qualify, we were out for lunch, and she said, Mom, Dad, I think you were there, I can't remember, Drew. And she said, I've got something to tell you. And we looked at each other and we thought, oh my God, what is she going to say? And she's like, I'm going to be a doctor. And I said, you're what? And she said, I'm going to be a doctor. I didn't study for 4 years, all this hard stuff to not be in control of my destiny. And so...
How happy were you when she said that? Were you
I was shocked.
over the moon?
Jill was so proud.
Oh, no, I
You
think
were, Jill.
I was happy for her because I knew that what she had chosen would put limitations on her. Because as a doctor, you know what happens in the allied world, and it would be frustrating for somebody like that.
It also depends on the personality type.
Well,
Like,
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said for somebody
exactly,
like that.
Yeah.
Just for somebody like that.
Yeah.
And so I was really happy for her.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to think about the whole machine and how it works. Like you need doctors, you need that type of personality, you need nurses, dietitians, like everyone plays their part.
100%.
But I think that Laurie, you're right, like she did dietetics, right?
Yeah,
Nutrition.
she did a 4-year degree of clinical dietetics.
Yeah, so she would have been
with a master's.
Well, yeah, the 4th year was the master's, yeah.
So she would have been great, but her personality was she wanted to be the top dog.
Correct.
You know?
And I mean, look at her in emergency.
Yeah.
She's saving people's lives. She's making critical decisions, ordering the tests. She's where it begins and ends. And so that was the right path for her.
Right.
And it was totally the right path for you.
Yeah. No, I'm very happy with my path. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I have zero regrets.
Yeah.
I was joking before that I would have made a terrible doctor, but I think I do have the qualities to be a good doctor if I wanted to, but I know my personality type and it's just not suited to that.
No, I agree
Especially
with
when
you.
I look at the amount of work that you guys have done over your careers and Laurie's hours and you know me, that's not me.
No. So look, you chose your course and you had all the opportunities open to you, and to see you living your dream life is commendable. And I'm happy for that.
Thank you.
Actually, there is something I'd like to add. When you were in your, I don't know if it was HSC year or the year before, I took you to a careers counselor because you were interested in being an architect.
Yeah.
Because you have got very fine drawing skills. And I took you to this man and...
Sorry. I just got to laugh. You're talking about my drawing skills. We've been doing these paint your partner nights, painting Carly. I've painted you guys.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
My drawing skills are not great. In fact, we're going to put it on screen right now. The paint your partner nights that we've all had.
Yeah.
Some of the best laughs ever.
But that was interpretive.
Okay.
Your drawing skills were more like black and white.
Right.
You were very neat at school. Like your writing was exemplary, you know. Anyway, I took you to this man and he said, Andrew, you were still Andrew in those days, by the way. He said, he said to you, if I were to tell you or ask you, would you be interested in learning all the historical details of a particular building in France, how would you feel? And you said to him, oh my God, no, absolutely
I'm
no.
out. Yeah,
and
not
then he
for me.
said to you, but if you follow your passion, what is your passion? And you said to him, exercise, the body and health.
See, it's funny how it's like in you.
And your gut led you there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So how did you guys fall into your specialty? So ophthalmology.
Yeah.
How do you go from studying to become a doctor to deciding I want to specialize as an ophthalmologist?
It's a bit of a joke, and I'd like to apologise to everyone who knows me. But at medical school, we had a 2-week term in ophthalmology, and I went windsurfing every day. And I was told to learn one topic because it's going to come up in the exam, and it did, and I passed. So I knew nothing about ophthalmology.
Right.
So when you get into the postgraduate years, you do an internship and a residency. And the residency is to find your way. And they put you through different specialties. So you find an interest, casualty, neurosurgery, obs and gynae, it doesn't matter what it is. And then eventually you find your way. So I decided surgery is the way, because with surgery you get an ultimate solution. You can fix things. So I thought that's so attractive. So I cut it down to a few subspecialties. Neurosurgery, honestly, it was a 50% mortality. You're up all night, always on call. It was quite depressing and difficult. So I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Orthopedics was too much carpentry, and I wasn't skilled that way. So I was thinking plastics. Plastics sounds good. They took in 1 in 60 applicants, and you had to be very artistic as well. And I thought, oh, that was probably not me. Then there was ENT.
Show those pictures
Yeah,
again.
yeah, we'll flash those pictures again. of the artist.
ENT, too many in the family. And the last one was ophthalmology.
Right.
And the thing about ophthalmology was it's a good mix of medicine and surgery, because the eye is a particular organ that is like the window to the soul, the window to the brain. And you can diagnose so many systemic diseases from. I thought that's fascinating. So I went up to the eye clinic and said, what's with the eyes? They said, oh, you got to see this. We got a new machine called a laser. So the first ever laser system in medicine was in ophthalmics. I thought, oh, this is good. You know, I can do surgery. I can have invested interest in all these new machines. I can look at the body, and I put my hand up.
Was this in Australia or South Africa?
Yeah.
Okay, so you did undergrad.
Undergrad in South Africa was due to go into the army, which was a 2-year placement. And as a medic, you're always on the front line, or just close to the front line, because you're recovering people. And the war was against my belief, and I thought it was futile. And an opportunity came where I married a visa, and I brought the visa over and kept the visa and the wife.
Yeah.
And our life started in Sydney.
Wow, that's awesome. And so your undergrad also.
So I was a year behind Dad, and Dad was due to go into the army, and he was due to go in the year after I qualified. And my late dad, Harold, said, I'm not going to allow Brian to go to the army. So he encouraged us to come to Australia to, further our careers. But one big problem, in order to be a doctor, you have to do an internship. And in South Africa, we had a 6-year degree as opposed to a 5-year degree that was here at the time, because we're going back 30-something years, a long, long time. 40 years. Is that 40 years or more? And so my dad made an application to the government on my behalf saying, my daughter has done an internship in South Africa, a junior internship. And the medical board here said, if you can prove that your daughter got paid for the internship, we'll allow her to do the conversion exam. And so I did get paid. I got an honorarium of 200 Rand at the time, which was equivalent to $200 a month for working as a junior doctor.
And you still earn $200.
And I still earn $200 a month. And then, so they allowed us to do the exam. But Dad had already had the experience of an internship, a real internship, and I hadn't. And I passed the exam. Do not know how I passed the exam.
No one needs to know
She's
how.
smart. She's smart.
She knows who to copy from. She's clever.
And so I passed the exam, but in the interim, I had applied for a job at New South Wales University as a tutor to tutor medical students.
So the medical student was teaching the students.
But the medical students were actually older than me.
Yeah.
Because I was 22, right? And I used to go into my physiology tutorials making sure that I asked all the questions because I knew the answers to my questions.
Right.
And I was afraid that they might ask me something that I didn't know. But that was actually quite a silly thing to feel because in medicine, there are often times that somebody asks you something you don't know.
That's actually something I wanted to talk about today. It was going to come later in the conversation, but now's a good time to talk about this concept of both imposter syndrome, so feeling like you don't really belong in the position that you're in, and the ability to say like the three most powerful words, I don't know, in medicine. Because it feels like in this day and age, there's so much, and tell me if you feel the same, so much like distrust in medicine, science, like an anti-authority age of like TikTok culture, social media culture, where doctors don't know what they're doing. They're out to get you. They're corrupt. No one trusts the doctor. And if a doctor says, I don't know, it's even worse. They don't know anything. They never studied nutrition. There's this whole like narrative. What do you feel about, have you ever felt imposter syndrome, and how do you see the landscape today compared to 20, 30 years ago?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I have felt imposter syndrome many, many a time. But my ability to say I don't know is one of my values. I don't have an ego in medicine. I am there to do the best for my patients. I know I don't know everything, and I'm absolutely honest to my patients. So if they present with something and I can see the signs, and I'll say, you know what, I don't actually know what this is, but I will find out, or we will find out together. And that is why I have always used specialists with great respect, and I've used them as a learning experience. So much of what I know has been taught to me on the job by using the advice of people who do know. Mm-hmm. Dad, what are you?
Yeah, so early on, imposter syndrome was very real. In fact, every time you got new techniques and modalities, and yet you're qualified, you have to learn again, either watching someone or going on a course and then coming back with all that information and technique and applying it. And that was intimidating. That was imposter syndrome. So it's very nice to lead in medicine, but I always like to be one rack below the leaders so that I can learn from them first.
Yeah.
But the more I am advanced in medicine, the more comfortable you become, and also to share, as Jill says, you share responsibility, you share with the patient. They love authenticity, and they're not frightened about, he's not sure.
Right.
Because we got time to investigate. If you're in casualty like Laurie, it's immediate. You have to know, or it's too late.
The time crunch.
Yeah. So with
life or death.
With eyes, 99% of the time, we can bring them back, do a test, etc.
That's an interesting concept from the perspective of a surgeon when it comes to imposter syndrome, because the first time you do the operation, you are essentially doing it literally for the first time with that particular technique. Is that something you think about when you're going in and you just bring it back to confidence and trust in your abilities?
Yeah. So once you've got the hand skills and obviously a mature brain, you can take on challenges. And the key is always to be able to reflect. So record your operation, share it around the world and say, what would you have done here? And the feedback is gold, you know. And it's same as when we go to conferences. The best moments are when you're chatting, fireside, coffee table side, talking, oh, you know, you can't believe what happened. What would you have done? And that knowledge shared across our discipline is gold.
Yeah, I mean, you're rubbing shoulders with like world leaders, world experts.
Yeah.
But if we think about think about the person, the everyday person today, where they're getting their information from.
Right. So
You know,
I'll just talk about that.
Yeah.
So because we're so subspecialized, I'd never get into a challenge like, oh, you're an expert on glaucoma. Well, if I take these vitamins, I will cure my glaucoma.
Right.
I don't get that kickback.
Yeah.
But I would imagine, Jill, what's your
You would probably
take
see
on
more.
Yeah, so, I mean, I would call myself a holistic doctor. I only just learned how to spell holistic. But, you know, I'm very much about our natural environment, what's safe in it and what's unsafe in it, because there are many very unsafe natural products. And I spent many years butting heads with people who would make claims like Brian just said, you know, use this estrogen cream because it's bioidentical and all of those things without understanding.
You got to tell them about my Chinese herbs.
Yes, it's a good segue into that. Okay.
Tell us the story.
So Dad, as you know, has some, you know, insomnia. And several years ago, when he was still operating in Maroubra, where his theatre was, he took it upon himself to go to the Chinese herbalist and acupuncturist around the corner. And I don't know what the consultation was like, but he came home with a box of pills written in Chinese.
Right.
And he said,
take this for your sleep.
And he said to me, the herbalist has given me this and it's for my sleep. And I am neurotic, as you know, and super careful, which my patients appreciate. And so I don't take any chances with anything. Now, one of the things that happens in natural medicines is this process called adulteration, which means that they might say that it's like a tea leaf, but then they add in, you know, some chemical compound like an anti-inflammatory or whatever it is. Anyway, I said to him, you will not swallow those things. Give them to me. I'm going to go and find out what they are. So I went to the local Chinese laundromat in our suburb. And I said to the lady, who I knew really well, I said, my husband's been given these pills. Can you tell me what they are? And she looks at them and she bursts out laughing. I said, what are you laughing about? And in her very beautifully strong Chinese accent, she says to me, I don't think these are going to help him. These are for premenstrual tension.
And I've been sleeping brilliantly ever since.
Oh, that's so funny.
I stole them and I threw them away.
Oh my gosh. But the irony is, like, I would expect somebody who's not trained in medicine, who's not scientific, to fall for that. But you were like a specialist doctor and you still fell for it. Yeah. Anyway,
that's the other side of Dad.
It is. It's
that
so
really
funny.
is the other side of Dad.
Okay, so speaking of knowing and not knowing things, 14 years ago, if someone said to you, type 1 diabetes, what do you know about this condition? What was your understanding?
So,
and I say 14 years for the listener because I was diagnosed 13 and a half years ago.
yeah, so my experience was as a subspecialist in diabetes. So I'd come across years and years of type 1 and type 2 with the known complication, because we're at the apex of the pyramid, we tend to see the complications. We don't see healthy people.
What are the complications? Give us an
So
insight.
not everyone's going to get complications. So let's put it out there. They're unusual and they're all manageable. So there's no point freaking out. But it's divided for diabetes into microvascular and macrovascular, meaning small vessel and big vessel. So the microvascular system involves retina, which is the eye, kidney, which is obviously how we urinate and remove metabolic products, and then microvascular supply of nerves, usually in the peripheral nerves. So when the microvascular system is not healthy, We get eye disease, kidney disease, and neuropathy of the feet, which is numbness, tingling, leading to ulcers. And then the macrovascular is the large vessel. And the large vessel are the big pipes, starting from aorta and then the carotids that feed the brain, the coronary arteries, and then limb arteries. So when they block, it's typical of what we get with an aging, poor diet situation, but accelerated by diabetes. So your risk is stroke, heart attack, and you can lose a limb, etc. But we have so much better management that we don't see a lot of this when it's done right.
Right. Yeah, and when you say management, so we've got like technology plays a role. Then there's obviously the scientific, depth of understanding that's come quite a long way about dietary things and lifestyle factors and other medications. So when you were practicing, let's go back, say 15 years. Okay. Like what percentage of your patients were coming to you with these diabetic complications? Were you seeing people like every week, every day? Like how much?
Every day. Every day. So obviously in ophthalmology, we have a large turnover. So I would see between 100 and 120 people a week. And I would see between 20 and 30 diabetics, of which at least 5 were involved with complications per week.
Right. And type 1 and type 2, as you mentioned.
Correct.
Okay. And they're coming with complications due to poor diabetes control for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of the time for type 2 it was non-diagnosis.
Right.
So they live with it silently.
Okay.
Type 1s, you got diabetes because usually present a hospital or something more serious. And the issue of poor control, poor screening, and poor compliance are the reasons we get into trouble.
Okay. And you were at this time working closely with RPA
so
Center.
My career in ophthalmology as a specialist was in the early 1990s, and Professor Dennis Yu is a world leader around in Australia, and he had the biggest Southern Hemisphere database of diabetics. And he reached out to me and said, look, we need somebody to run the ophthalmics of diabetes. We want to share our complication patients so you can help manage us. I said, only with pleasure. I'm young. I'm going to develop my skills. And so I ran with diabetes as a big subspecialty for me. And 14 years ago, I was what I thought was an expert. And then I really started to learn when you got diabetes, what it's all about.
Yeah, wow. It is. It's a crazy thought to, you know, to really see. Until you're close to someone with diabetes, you think you know quite a lot about something, but until it's like right in front of you, you don't.
Correct.
What about your experience? What was type 1 diabetes? What did it mean to you, type 1 diabetes 15 years ago? Tears are coming.
Yeah. Because for me as a doctor, it was probably the disease I feared most because it was so dangerous, life-changing. It happened to children. I was shocked out of my brain when it happened to you. I was equally as grateful that it happened to you at 21 rather than 8 or 5 or 3 or whatever. But when I look back now, I literally knew nothing. I'm embarrassed to say that as a doctor, but all you know is a few numbers, the clinical things. You don't know the personal side of type 1 diabetes. You don't know the nuance. You don't know what it really means. And the thing you don't know the most is that you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay? Because when you live with somebody who does know, who had to learn, who taught us, those are the people that know. And I'm not disrespecting doctors myself. I'm just saying the truth is we actually don't really know.
Right, and you can't know everything about everything.
No.
There's going to be a reason that you focus on something more than another topic. And obviously for us, it's a big part of our lives, and that's why you've learnt so much.
Yeah.
So I've told my story so many times, and like today I don't even want to tell my story. Like what I really want to sort of get to is my story from your perspective, or your story.
Yeah.
Right. So, if we go back to, early 20s, so for me, let's say when I was like 20 years old, do you remember a period of those signs and symptoms where my health started to decline. What was your memory of that time?
Yeah. All right. So I'll go first. You were physically fit and you were nutritionally astute. You were doing all the right things to be an athletic human, and you were still in a growth phase. And the idea was you wanted to bulk up, and you ate well, but you started to lose weight. You had some vague symptoms that are very peculiar to you in a way and not well understood by the presentation of type 1 diabetes. The most common presentation of type 1 diabetes is going to be thirst, craving sugar, losing weight as a mainstay of early high sugars.
Right, and frequent urination,
Correct.
hunger,
Correct.
tiredness.
And so, so you had like these funny eye symptoms.
Yes, I remember this.
Where you'd get like little lights coming and going, and you say, "What's that, Dad?"
You used to say, "I've got sparkles in my vision."
Yeah.
The way I can try to explain it was almost like fireworks were going off, and these like blue kind of electric currents like flowing through my eyes, and I would get this vision when we were playing golf, or I would go and do like sprints on the beach, and like right at the end of the sprint when I'd stop, my eyes would be kind of like sparkly, squiggly.
Yeah, that's
strange.
obviously it relates to the metabolic function of the retina, I would imagine. But it's not written up as, this is a common complaint.
Does that still happen to you when your sugar's high?
No, I don't recall.
Another
maybe
thing,
a few times over the years, but not commonly. No.
Another thing was your somnolence. You would fall asleep at any time.
So if I can interrupt
No,
you.
you go.
I remember you coming home from, so to set the scene, you just finished your degree. You were in your year after you had finished your degree, and you were about to do your clinical placement to become clinically accredited. And so I'm talking about in your 4th year.
Yeah.
And one day I came home from work and you were sitting downstairs in the playroom with a sandwich in your mouth and you were asleep. Your eyes were closed and there was a sandwich in your mouth. And I thought, oh my God, what is going on? And I got the electric gut feeling where my knees turned to ice. I looked at you and my knees turned to ice. And I thought, oh my God. And then I woke you up and then you told me that you'd also had to poke yourself in the leg with a pen to stay awake in your interview, for your job interview. And I'm embarrassed to say, I knew something was wrong, but you'd recently had glandular fever. And I just thought it was like a protracted recovery of glandular fever. The thought never even entered my mind. Other thoughts did, which I can't even vocalize, but that never, ever entered my mind.
Yeah, it didn't enter mine. And I work with diabetes.
Wow.
And I mean, if the joke is on reflection, I always used to tease you and say, would you like a vase of water to drink?
Yeah.
But I thought that was just
I was
part
drinking so much water.
Yeah.
I'd fill up this like 3 liter, literally.
Vase.
It was a vase that
It was a vase.
you put flowers in.
Correct.
I would just carry that around and
So
drink it.
we
But
thought
you-
it was part of your training regime.
My bulking up protocol.
But you never told us that you were weeing,
Oh, man.
urinating.
But I think that's one of those things that, again, if you're so close to the problem, you can't even see it. And
Yeah.
even for me, going through those symptoms, firstly, I didn't know what the signs and symptoms of type 1. And again, I can say...
They weren't classical.
Well, they
Yours
weren't classical, but also I did have some of the classical ones, let's be honest. Waking up to pee every night, drinking water in the middle of the night. I would just go to the tap and just drink and drink and drink, carrying water around with me, losing weight, tired, hungry. And I was also trained in physiology.
Yes.
I also should have known better if you think about it,
Yes.
you know?
And maybe you also have a denial system inbuilt, saying, oh, well, I'm sure I'll be all right. Tomorrow will be a better day.
Yeah, it could be partly denial.
But the interesting thing is, I mean, I remember so clearly sitting at the dining room table and you saying to me, Mom, there's something seriously wrong with me. Do some blood tests. And so I was like, the knees were ice. My heart nearly turned to stone. And I'm like, okay, tomorrow we'll do the blood test. And then when I got them back.
Well, sorry, just to interrupt. When I first asked for the blood test, it was like, for me, like a pivotal moment. I've told this story, so I won't go into detail, but like I was falling asleep driving.
Yeah.
So I was on the way back from my clinical placement and I fell asleep in the tunnel. I slept in my car at Rush Cutters Bay. I literally pulled over. I couldn't keep my eyes open. I remember calling you after that.
Yeah.
Like when I woke up and I said, we need to do some blood tests. There's something wrong with me. I can't stop falling asleep, especially when I'm driving. What did you send? Like what was on that list of blood tests? What did you investigate?
Okay.
She was very smart because she'll tell you, but it's a test that you don't normally do.
Mm-hmm.
So whilst I don't profess to know everything in medicine, I really don't, and I'm always open to learning, what I do is be very thorough. And because I've always seen sort of complicated patients, I have this philosophy of looking between the lines. And one of the tests that I added onto my list of tests was a hemoglobin A1C, which for the public is
HbA1c.
Yeah, which is a look at the last 3 months of sugar control as the glucose is joined to hemoglobin. And that gives not a momentary snapshot, but a 3-month history, a real, true history. I mean, there can be a few things in it, but a real history. And at the time, that test wasn't covered by Medicare. And so for non-diabetics. And so it was always a little bit controversial whether it should be done or it shouldn't be done. But I always did it because my philosophy was that when you take blood out of an arm, it's a momentary snapshot of something. And it's not a true reflection of anything, really. And so in your tests, I mean, I did all the basic tests, which were liver, kidneys, full blood count, glucose, insulin. But I did the hemoglobin A1C. And I believe that saved you from a really bad trajectory.
A potential crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you compare my diagnosis to many others, it was quite a gentle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because what happened on those tests was that your fasting sugar was normal.
Yeah.
Your hemoglobin A1C was clearly diabetic. And your liver function tests were abnormal and your kidney function. You were sick. Like you looked really sick in your bloods.
But he protected himself by exercise and nutrition.
Correct.
Well, yes. I've been trying to think about how that fits into potentially delaying my diagnosis. Do you really believe that was happening?
100%.
I think you managed your diabetes whilst you still had some pancreatic function. Might have been 10% or whatever, and it was obviously getting hammered by the autoimmune disease, which is what it is. And you still had some insulin, and you treated your sugar correctly by burning it through the muscles. And
you're saying unknowingly. I didn't know I had diabetes.
No. And just to add to that,
you were healthy.
Drew, Brian, maybe you won't remember this, but Drew might remember this. Do you remember at the end of your HSC year how skinny you were? Do you remember I took you to a doctor because you had lost so much weight?
End of HSC. I don't really remember exactly, to be honest.
I took you to him. He's a very esteemed doctor and I really trust him. I think we may have done a blood test on you. I think so. But you had lost an enormous amount of weight.
Yeah.
Your bloods were fine.
That was like 3 years before my diagnosis.
Correct.
So you actually think it was going on for that long?
Yes, I do. Because I was just reflecting on that last night, thinking you had lost so much weight. I had to take you shopping to buy new clothes. The time I embarrassed you by telling the shop owner that he shouldn't hang this shirt on the line on the rail because the seam was broken. Yeah. And Andrew's like, Mom, that's so embarrassing. It's meant to be broken.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that was the time. That was when you finished school.
That. And interestingly, I was falling asleep throughout university. So first year, second year, and third year.
I thought that was from partying.
There's maybe an element of that.
Okay.
But there was a level of exhaustion that I can't even explain.
But you never told us.
Yeah, but I didn't. I thought it
He
was from the
didn't- he just
partying,
thought
or
it
I
was
thought,
him.
this is me.
Yeah.
I'm tired. So it was actually years of symptoms before we actually got a hard diagnosis.
Yeah.
So I get the blood test back. A1C comes back elevated. It was in the diabetic range, but it wasn't actually like crazy. I think
It was
like
7.2.
or even less. I think it was
6.9 or
6.8. It
something?
was 6.6
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. So then I'll take it from
No,
there.
hold on. There's more. I looked at that result and I'm like, they've made a mistake. They've swapped your blood. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And we went
We
back
got
the
retest.
next day
Yeah.
and we retested it. And guess what? Your fasting sugar was normal again. And of course, hemoglobin A1C does not change. And that was my point, is that if I had just not done the hemoglobin A1C and only done your fasting, or actually it was postprandial, and that was normal. So it was fasting the first one, the next day was postprandial. They were both normal.
Mm-hmm.
And if I hadn't have done that, I don't
Well,
know what would have
interestingly,
happened.
So we took you to my experts,
Right.
RPA Diabetes Centre. There's Professor Dennis, who's done 50 years in this field. And he says, right, we'll do the autoantibodies to the pancreas. But at the moment, he doesn't have diabetes. So now I'm in the mode, okay, we're going to save him from diabetes. And I started to look in the literature how to do all this. And within 2 weeks, you frankly presented, and that was also confrontational, in a consulting room with a finger prick. Oh, you're not as good as you think you are. It's not 5 or 6, it's 17. So it was immediate. The diagnosis was a shock. And even to Professor Yu, he knew it was coming. But when I said to him, when will it be here? He said, oh, maybe a few years.
Yeah, I remember. Because during this time, you and I were going to the diabetes center together. For some reason, I don't think you were coming for all of them. It was too triggering, too traumatic.
Yes.
But because you'd been working with the diabetes center for so many years, it made sense that you would be the introduction and then I'd come. So we were going, I remember going like 3 or 4 times. I remember doing an A1C test in their office. They had a machine, like a mobile machine. And it also came back a
Was it
little bit.
A1C or of
A1C,
sugar?
yeah, no, it was A1C.
Okay.
It was a finger prick, 3 monthly average, came back elevated. But I do remember the team there saying,
It's not quite
he doesn't have diabetes yet. He goes, don't worry, don't jump to conclusions. He doesn't have it. Some of the antibody tests hadn't come back yet, so we didn't actually know. But it was like this very grey in-between phase where we were kind of in no man's land. It was like
Slow train wreck.
it was,
I can tell you
it was
now.
like watching a train go off a cliff in slow motion.
Correct.
And listen, it caught all of us off guard. It caught Dennis you off guard.
Yeah, I know. Even the team were like
Yeah.
shocked. And the irony that you've been working with them and then you bring your son in, it was just, it was crazy. So they said, I remember the conversation so clearly. He literally, I think his words were, could happen in 5 days, could happen in 5 years.
Correct.
We don't know. Here's the blood glucose meter. Take this home. Get him to check his sugars,
Not even every day.
a couple times a week.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then I came home with this glucose meter. As someone without diabetes, it was a confusing period.
And then I remember you and I standing in the kitchen and you used to eat dates. And then you did the glucose and your sugar was like 15 or something. And I remember naively, like a silly child
It was contamination.
saying to you,
The
you
sugar
didn't
on the
wash your
fingers.
hands properly.
I
It was
know.
the sugar from the date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
I
look,
prayed
we
and
were-
wished.
I know. Well, I mean, so we get the news of the maybe you have diabetes. I go home with this blood glucose meter. I think it was about 2 weeks of testing sporadically, right? Before I had a morning glucose that kind of freaked me out. And I
Yeah.
actually didn't tell you guys because I was like in so much denial.
The one you went to the gym for.
No, this was before that.
Yeah.
This was one that sort of freaked me out enough. He said basically if you see a blood glucose level above 7 in the morning, like as in 7 millimoles first thing in the morning, you should probably come back and we'll talk about the next steps. And it was like 7.2 and I retested and then it was 6.9 and then I retested again, it was 7.6 because there's a bit of like variation. And I knew that one was a bit of a strange one. And then, I go on with my day and the next few days and then we go back for another consultation. This is now like 2 weeks after the first time we go there. and we go out for breakfast to Lux in Newtown, have like a big piece of sourdough with avocado. We go in to sit with the educator, and she's like, show us your logbook. Let's see how the last 10 days have been.
Yeah.
And then she says, they've just got a new blood glucose meter that some reps have just dropped off. Do you want to try it out? Do you remember this?
Yes.
Tell it from your perspective. What do you remember of that day? Because this was the day.
Yeah, so I am anticipating trouble. I just don't know when it's coming. And because you had some good sugar readings at home, some not so good, but mostly
normal,
good.
Yeah.
She brings out the CG, it's just a
blood glucose meter.
tester.
Yeah.
And does a finger prick, and it's like off the scale, like 17 or something. So immediately we all got denial. Even Dennis was shocked. So it was Lee, the educator, Dennis, you and me. We said, oh, no, it's a faulty machine. Let's blame the machine. They said, okay, we'll bring another one out. And it was exactly the same. And then it was as clear as day.
And what do you remember, like the feeling?
The feeling was the world came down. I couldn't think of a solution. I just wished it was me. It was my sugar, not yours. Because I could own it better than you could. And I couldn't change anything. I felt pathetic. I spent at least a week after that day floating as if I had no purpose, no direction, just as a dad would for a son. It was tough. And for you, it was impossible.
Well, I would argue in some ways it may have been harder for you because you are literally the specialist who's, as you say, trained to fix the problem.
Yeah.
You fix things.
Yeah.
People come to you with the problem.
Yeah.
You operate, you fix it, they walk out with vision. Whilst here we've got this diagnosis, no cure.
Yeah.
We didn't even know at the time we knew nothing. We didn't know what the quality of life would be like. We didn't know how to really manage it.
Yeah.
The technology back then, obviously, it was still decent, but compared to today, it was like antiquity. Right. Like you can't even compare.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bloody tough time.
No,
and
what
about?
Challenge.
So I think we then had to literally call you to tell you the news because you weren't in that consultation.
No.
So what was that like?
Living death for me.
Yeah, I know. It's rough.
Like a black guillotine, just cut off every morsel of hope and faith in the world that I had. And I just would look at your eyes. And I wanted to take it away. I wanted you to be the same 21-year-old, free, happy. You were at the pinnacle of a new life, music and modeling and your career and just living life as a young person. And I tried to be brave. I did. But I remember you saying to me, Mum, your mouth is smiling, but your eyes are dead.
Yeah, you were trying to fake it for me, like trying to be strong. I do remember like the period between getting the diagnosis and then like probably 48 hours. I remember, so the first thing I think we did was we went to the diabetes shop to pick up supplies.
So no, then I came back with you the next day and then I was in the room with you as well. And I remember Lee saying to Andrew, stuff that really you did the opposite of, and I'm so proud of that and grateful. She said to him, you should never live alone.
I don't think she said conclusive. Like it wasn't black and white, you will never live alone, you will never do X, Y, Z.
I think she said living alone is dangerous.
Living alone might be dangerous.
And traveling will be dangerous.
Traveling alone might be dangerous.
And exercise is dangerous. And you being an exercise physiologist, I just sat there and I thought, you have just deleted every morsel of hope from a young person.
She listed the things that could be dangerous.
Yeah.
And then I said, are there any athletes living with type 1? She said, there's this, this person's a long distance rower, this person's a long distance swimmer, there's a rugby player, plays for the Waratahs. And she sort of like gave me a lot of hope in terms of these athletes that were very successful. But she said what I think was a responsible message, which is this actually is a very dangerous and difficult condition. Like, let's not pretend it's easy and safe.
Yes.
Traveling alone, can be dangerous. Exercise can be dangerous. These are true, very true statements. But when you're in the position of somebody who sees like the brightest future ever, and then you get told these scary things,
Yes.
maybe our memory of it is a little bit warped.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
And as an early diagnosis, you have to be exceptionally careful because all of a sudden you'll be introduced to insulin and you could be hypersensitive and get a hypo. So they did all the right things to protect you at that time. And then when you showed your skill in managing it and using your exercise as a tool, they would obviously encourage you.
Right. I agree. I think that's a good like sort of summary of where their mind was at.
From ignorance to education.
Right. Especially, when you're handing over this powerful hormone to someone to self-medicate, there's a lot of responsibility with that. Although I wasn't given insulin straight away.
Correct.
Do you remember, let me see if you remember this conversation. You called me, it was the day after, and you just called to check in on me. And I think, you were asking more questions about like my mental health. And I just said to you, I said, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I just give me the insulin.
I do.
I need the insulin because I'm so skinny and tired. I just want to eat a meal and absorb the nutrients and get the glucose into the cells. Please don't worry about my mental health. Just, I need this prescription. Do you remember that?
You said, I welcome the diagnosis because I'm sick of feeling sick and just give me the insulin.
Yep.
And also you always been that control freak with your body and your mind, and you wanted to own it and be your own manager.
What's your memory of getting the diagnosis to being given the insulin and actually starting to treat and manage my own diabetes? Do you remember that little in-between? It must have been only a couple of days or a few days.
Yeah, so the first thing I did was did a mock injection on myself to understand what does my son need to do to stay alive for the rest of his life. And I had to feel that pain to understand.
There's something terrible about watching your child, knowing that your child 10 times, 20 times a day, whether it's your finger prick or your insulin, not only has to struggle with the disease itself, but with the pain of the injection, with the thought of what can I eat? And that was something that really bothered me. It really bothered me that you couldn't freely eat whatever you wanted to eat, and that for everything you ate, you had to calculate something and give yourself an injection. That thought process absolutely killed me. And
because it takes just the freedom and joy out of being a kid. Kid, I'm 21.
Well, like we're all kids,
Yeah.
And also, Drew, I remember you and I went to a conference together, a diabetes conference, and you had already told me by this stage, it could have been a year in, I don't know how long it was. You said, Mum, as far as I'm concerned, diabetes isn't only a disease of carbohydrate metabolism, it's a disease of protein. And I was like, what? And you said to me, if I eat a certain amount of protein, I have to inject extra insulin. Well, I certainly didn't know that as a doctor. You probably didn't know that as a doctor, but you had worked it out for yourself. And at that conference, for the first time, the woman stood up and she said, I'm going to tell you some information that we don't tell our patients because it's too complicated.
I remember this.
Protein is part of the
will
disease.
Will be converted down the track
but that's
into a sugar.
Do you remember that?
I remember that very clearly. Yeah, because back then I was like a very, very heavy meat eater.
Yeah.
Like I was eating like 500, 700 gram steaks in like one go and having these massive pronounced delayed spikes.
Yeah.
And, the way that I was trained was to like investigate, like see something that's weird. And instead of thinking, oh, it's random, I hope it doesn't happen again, to like try to really get to the bottom of it. And I think that's where my journey in nutrition sort of catapulted.
Yes.
Getting diagnosed with diabetes and going, wow, everything I eat has an impact on my blood glucose, whether it's directly putting glucose in the bloodstream or indirectly by eating large amount of protein, then the liver can convert it and all of these crazy pathways. So then let's talk about the nutrition journey, because I mean we've been on this
roller
journey
coaster.
as a family.
Absolutely.
This is a family condition.
100%.
When someone in the family
It's a
has type
family
1,
disease.
It
It
is.
is a family's disease.
I think it is too. But you guys were and still are like so unbelievably supportive. But not just for me. Like I've derailed your lives.
Yeah.
So many
We didn't
ways.
derail
I
it.
know, mate, you
I'll
got
tell
me
you
into
what you
trouble a
did.
lot.
You
into
elevated.
trouble.
You elevated our lives, because through your research on celiac disease and its relationship to autoimmunity and type 1 diabetes, we changed we took gluten out of our house altogether, and we did that for everybody. But I got better from something that I had wrong with me for most of my life,
Unknowingly.
Mm.
And so you healed me through your knowledge.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. So I don't know what the
You got
exact
me into big
statistic is,
trouble.
but I think it's like 5%, 1 in 20 people with type 1 diabetes develop celiac disease.
Yeah, I thought it was like 30%.
No, it's lower than that.
Okay.
I think it's about 5%.
Okay.
We can fact check that.
Yeah.
It might be a high number of people with floating antibodies and not presenting. I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know, but
Yeah.
a large percentage of people with type 1 get celiac. And my kind of logic was, like, there was a few layers of psychology to this. Like, firstly, after I was diagnosed, I lost all confidence in my health and faith in that I was going to live a healthy life. Because when you get a diagnosis like type 1, I'm just thinking, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Like, when am I getting cancer? Like, that was honestly my mindset. Like, I remember I'd find like a lump on my knee, and knee cancer.
yeah.
You know, I was just like so much of a hypochondriac. I could not get my thoughts together and think, okay, you're going to live a good life, you know, take control, move forward, do the right things. So I was so worried about getting all these other conditions. And then I learned about the connection with celiac, and I was like, well, I'm definitely going to get celiac disease. So I may as well just take gluten out now. That was
Yeah.
my mindset.
Yeah, and then you
So we
you
went
got on board.
gluten-free.
Yeah.
You got on board with the leaky gut syndrome. and-
Right. Then I was investigating, the pathway
Yeah.
of the pathology.
Yeah.
Where does it come from?
Yeah.
You need everyone who gets a disease, unfortunately, needs why did this happen?
Yeah.
So if they can find it,
Right.
then it makes them more accepting.
Yeah, you want to point the finger at something. You want a reason, a why,
Yeah.
clear, some closure.
Well,
But you don't get.
No, you don't.
I mean, you can point the finger at me because it's my family's genetics.
Well, you can do exactly. You can go through genetics. You can talk about lifestyle triggers and
Yeah.
environment. But I think that pursuit of finding the why and the reason, it's just
Wasteful.
not productive.
Yeah, it's not productive.
I say it
at
all the time. All patients want a reason why. They will not accept that we may not find out.
Mm.
So then we went from the no gluten to Dad always wanting to be a vegetarian.
The irony in this, I know, because back then I was like paleo caveman.
Yes.
You wanted to be vegetarian, and I was like, Dad, that's terrible for your health. You don't want to do that. Been vegan for 7 years. So okay, what was your memory of the first dietary change that we made as a family? And I say as a family because I introduced it for diabetes reasons, and then we all did it together.
So the first one was the gluten.
Yeah, so gluten free.
So we
which
started
helped you.
making bread at home.
Okay. So I, just for your audience, I am addicted to spaghetti. And gluten-free spaghetti 13 years ago was revolting. It's improved a lot now, and I was a grumpy cat. It took something from me that was so joyful to my palate. And then 8 years later, you went vegan, and then you took the second thing from my spaghetti, which was the bolognese.
But there were other things in there. Yeah, you've got no spaghetti left. Let's just let that go. So what was your memory of the first change? Yeah.
Listen, it's time to be honest,
Yeah.
right? So you sort of worked out that if you're diabetic, it's quite wise to stay away from carbohydrate. And I kept feeding off you to my poor patients. You must avoid carbohydrate. You're a diabetic, right?
Stay in your lane,
Yeah,
Brian.
so at the diabetes centre at their Christmas parties, they would say, Brian, please don't give any dietary advice. Just stay on the ice.
Yeah.
So,
But it-
you know,
but it
Part
is-
of our journey.
no, you did well on paleo. Tell us
Yeah.
that story.
Yeah, I mean, like as you say, the first line of thinking for me was, well, if this is a condition of glucose intolerance,
Take
then
away the
we'll
glucose.
remove the glucose. So we went low carb as a family.
Yeah.
But I think we did a really healthy low carb paleo diet. Like
Yeah.
fruit and vegetables have been the staple of our diets
100%.
since day one.
Yeah.
Right, that never changed.
Yeah.
The paleo days, we just took a lot of the grains out.
Yeah.
Anything that was refined, even refined grains, processed foods, all of that kind of stuff. So like if you look at a paleo diet from that perspective, I still think it is quite a healthy diet if you can lean more on the plants and less on the huge amounts of steak that I was probably eating.
Yeah.
But it was like fish, eggs,
Yeah.
steak, fruit and vegetables, nuts and seeds.
Yeah.
Pretty whole food, generally healthy diet, right? And I think as a family, we were all kind of happy eating that way. Like we were all doing
And we
quite
always
well.
had.
Yeah.
Mostly. I
Yeah.
mean, I did.
It wasn't
give
a drastic
No.
change. Yeah.
No.
And then we went to the next stepping stone on that low carb journey, which is to fully remove carbohydrates. Well, I did this, you guys didn't. But then we were in the keto phase for a little while. So anytime we went out together, it was Drew was keto, everyone else was basically paleo.
Yeah.
What was your memory of that way of eating?
I don't remember it that well.
It was a small period.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was mainly fish or maybe
Mediterranean.
occasional chicken.
Yeah. But what was the psychology like of removing these foods from your menu? Were you guys happy with it, or was it a bit
So
like, oh,
to be
what are we doing?
honest, I would have removed my arms for you.
Yeah.
So
it's-
removing some food was the easiest thing I could possibly do to make your life easier. And I didn't care.
Yeah.
I literally would have done and still would
Yeah.
do anything
Yeah.
to
So-
make your life easier.
I remember some strange moments in restaurants where they'd bring pita bread or just a side piece of bread, and I absolutely can't eat that. This is a dense carbohydrate. It's not good. I remember that, and it wasn't healthy.
But I think that's the journey you have to go on. Is naturally you're looking for answers, right? You want to solve some problems. So the unfortunate thing, and I think a lot of people run into this, is where they get their information. That's the issue. It's not the fact that you're trying. It's great, self-experiment, try new things, look for answers. I think that is very positive, right? Where you get your information from is the issue, right? So I probably ran into some, blog articles and YouTube things that would convince
How to
me
cure diabetes.
or how to reverse type 1, which you can't even do. But when you don't know anything about it, you kind of fall for it. And back then, this is like a long time ago, 13 years. Imagine people now.
And you're living on hope.
Yeah.
Waiting for a cure and thinking. So anyway, we do the keto, and then we end up through again my doing is we end up going plant-based as a family, basically. You finally get your wish of becoming a vegetarian.
Yeah.
And then are you happy?
No, but interestingly, I did it too extreme. Didn't understand the nuances. Lost weight.
Yeah.
And people say, you look unhealthy. But as soon as I learned how to put protein back in
Right.
and not worry about calories at all because I just burn everything, I got a sensible diet.
Right.
And so did you.
Yeah, I think we both probably were under-eating calories because the sort of the natural characteristics of a vegetarian or plant-based diet is it's fairly low calorie compared to other calorie-dense foods. So you have to almost consciously eat more to make up for the calories that you've eliminated through like very fatty cuts of meat and eggs and cheese and yogurt and all that sort of stuff. I also ran into the same thing. Like I felt for the first, maybe 4 or 5 months plant-based that my weight and my strength was going in the wrong direction, but my diabetes management was really good.
Improving. Yeah,
What do you remember of that transition?
So for me, going from being the cook of the family and, family meals being such an important part of our lives, the joy of cooking went through the floor because it was replaced with confusion. And then one day I just had an epiphany. And I'm like, why are you so confused? I thought to myself, just cook the way you used to, but instead of adding chicken or beef or whatever it is, add chickpeas, add lentils. Tofu, I don't love tofu. tempeh, I can't even say the word, but but the plant-based proteins. And so I would do the same cooking as before and then add all those things in. And you would come for dinner with Carly and you'd go, Mom, this is delicious. We're going to put this in the recipe book. So you gave me a lot of encouragement.
Right.
And I mean, I think that I have learned to cook, vegan food really well. I have to admit, I'm not great at tofu, although I can hide it in some food. But I think that was a really hard journey because as a mom, as the homemaker, to then not be able to provide to the hub of the family something so enjoyable was a bit confusing to me. But I overcame.
You learned how to
Yeah.
make a feature out of the plant-based food.
Yeah. And to be honest, we sometimes had some like dinner parties and I would make a vegan, gluten-free meal but not say anything. And then the people would come and go, my God, that is so delicious. And at the end of the meal, I'd say, do you realize that was both gluten-free and plant-based? And they're like, what? Give me the recipe.
Yeah, I mean, when you take the label away from the meal and you just see it as food and flavors, anyone can enjoy vegan food, in my opinion.
And, this is what I always say, because, being a strictly gluten-free person, people are like always a little bit confused and uncomfortable and, where will we go to eat and what will I cook you? And what I say to them is good company is always gluten-free.
Yeah, nice.
So I really don't care or mind.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys about, just after I was diagnosed, were there any conversations with your friends that were helpful and any that were unhelpful?
I can't quite remember.
Oh, I can.
Mum, you start. Let's hear it.
Boy, I can remember. So we thought we might speak to a couple type 1 diabetics that we know. They're close to us, some of them, to get some reassurance that everything would be okay. Boy, that was a bad decision. I wept after speaking to 2 of these people. One of them, both of them, in different ways, different words.
Both
said,
type 1s.
Both type 1s. They were only type 1s that we spoke to. Both of them told me that it was the worst thing that had ever happened to them in their lives. And it was a tragedy for them. I did not need to hear that. That really threw me back badly. And then on the other hand, you'd get people who had no understanding of type 1, nobody in their family with type 1 that would say things like, what are you so upset about? It's an injection. Get over
Or
it.
put him on a diet.
Or put him on a diet.
Yeah.
He's not fat.
Being a type 2.
Put him on a diet.
Right. But also they would say like, oh, just, put cinnamon in your food and drink apple cider vinegar and, all of these,
And-
surface level kind of useless
And Drew,
tools.
like I spoke to you, we didn't share with you the type 1s that we spoke to who told us what a tragedy their life had become, because that was absolutely counterproductive in every way, shape and form. But I did tell you about some of the people that said stupid things to me. And you said such a powerful thing to me. And you said, Mom, you can't be angry with ignorance. Don't hold on to your anger. They are ignorant. And that was an amazingly astute, call from a young person.
Do you not still feel like that today? Like people will say things to you that are, either stigmas or misconceptions. And you've just got to realize that people don't know.
So is type 1, so is his diabetes better?
Yeah. And,
So he's managing it.
the world
that sort of
doesn't
stuff.
understand fully the difference between type 1 and type 2.
Right. But to be fair, as health professionals, we didn't even really know what type 1 was until I got it.
Yeah.
So how can we have an expectation on everybody else to know the intricate details
That's
of
true.
this condition? It's complicated.
Yeah.
Like I don't know anything about, name a condition. I don't know anything about it until you're faced with it in it every single day. Was there a point where, or at what point did you have the realization that I was actually going to be okay and that I'd turned the corner and
I
found
tell
myself
you,
on a good path?
it was at least 2 years down the track. Why? Because mentally you were gone for a long time, dark place. And I was more concerned about the mental side of it than the physical. Because I could see you can manage sugars and, you're a bit of a perfectionist and you were looking at all the detail and you're looking at cause and effect, but it was the mental. And the mental you struggled.
What about me seemed different? What was the darkness that you were seeing? Was it that I...
So the darkness was you weren't going out.
Yeah.
You're staying at home. You're watching TV and often with a blank face. And it'll be a Saturday night. You may or may not have been watching sport. You weren't really interested in the score. You were distracted.
Mm.
And I
That's
mean,
so interesting. I actually forgot. You just literally reminded me, because we haven't spoken about this in this detail for a very long time. I remember, you're so right, every Saturday night watching rugby.
Correct.
I loved rugby union and rugby league, and I would watch 2 games in a row.
Yep.
5 p.m. the union game, 7 whatever it was, the league game. My friends would be lighting up my phone. Hey mate, we're going out for dinner, and then we're going for drinks, and then we're going to this nightclub. I didn't want to leave the house.
Yeah, you would not leave.
And I would just watch sport all night. Yeah, wow.
So that was
Forgot
your
about that.
escaping the reality.
well, I
couldn't
think
face
it
it.
was, yeah. And Dad and I used to cry together. It used to kill us.
What, when you saw me at home alone and just...
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking, you also didn't have a partner in your life anymore. So you didn't have a relationship and you let the friends drift.
Yeah.
So you didn't become you. You weren't you.
But the interesting thing of that was when we broached it with you, which we tried multiple times without sort of getting in your face, respectfully approaching it, you said such an amazing thing to me. And I'm interested to hear what your perspective is of what you used to say to me. You used to say to me, Mom, stop worrying that I'm alone. Flip it. See how amazing it is that I've got a courage to stay alone.
Yeah. I wrote a song about this.
I know.
Yeah.
That was my whole diabetes song.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember the exact lyrics. Maybe I'll put it on the YouTube with a link or something so people can actually listen to it. But yeah, that was the whole, I guess the realization that I had was people are so afraid of being alone, but being alone doesn't necessarily mean that you're lonely.
Yes.
And also being alone is almost like a power. If you're comfortable enough to be on your own, you're going to be fine.
That's
And
true.
that's what I came to.
I understand. But the
So
thing is, that part is true if that's what you choose. But you were depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is the critical part that was missing. The depression, your sadness, your darkness
Yeah.
made
And,
you make that decision.
Right.
And
That was the thing.
you were not comfortable talking about the mental side. And one of the triggers for you to be more unhappy was to read our eyes and say, oh, look, if they worried, I should be worried.
Yeah.
So you would tend, particularly to Mum, say, Mum, don't show me those emotions.
Yeah.
I will be all right. Because if she's crashing, you'll crash harder.
That's a good point. Yeah, like when I saw you guys suffering for me, it made it harder. But also I felt there were times where I wasn't suffering. Maybe
And
I
we
was.
were still, yeah.
But I could see it on your face.
Yeah.
And it felt like just such a waste of emotion
Yeah.
because I'm like, hey guys, I'm actually okay here.
Yeah.
So there was a period there, as you say, where like my social life disintegrated. I was alone a lot, which I felt like I had to go through because I had to find my new identity. Like now I'm someone living with type 1 diabetes, pricking my finger 15 times a day, injecting myself,
Hiding your injections.
hiding my diabetes, hiding my injections. So I didn't have the confidence or the courage to show it publicly. When did this change? And what do you think was the catalyst?
Okay. How long have you had diabetes?
I think like 13 and a half years.
Okay. When you moved out of home as a trial to go and stay with Harry was one of the most frightening things of my life.
That was very soon after diagnosis.
Yes.
Because he came back.
Right, yes.
Yes. But I kept saying to myself, A, you still had a partner at the time, not Carly, and you were living with Harry. But I remember having this like negative dance with you of like I was angry, but that was just covering my fear. Sorry.
You can move that.
Yeah. So I was just covering my fear by being angry. Like I wasn't, are you sure you were okay to move out? And then you refused to wear a diabetes bracelet when you went in the sea for surfing. And that caused me intense fear because I am a very, very visual person, and I would see pictures in my head of you having a hypo and drowning out to sea. But the more I spoke to you about that, the more pushback you gave me. So I had to sort of take a step back and then sort of close off my fear from you and just let it eat me and eat him.
When do you think he came right?
I think you came right. You mean when we came right about him?
No.
No,
him.
like when did
he
see me
master his destiny?
come out of that darkness and like rise from the ashes?
Okay. In around 2015, how many years after diabetes was that?
It's 5.
What's that, 10? Yeah. No, like... Yeah,
4 years. 4 years
years
after. I saw you get the courage to eat something different, to go out.
Reintroduce a bit of alcohol?
By yourself.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing. Somebody came into your life at that time that not only gave us the courage, but also changed your trajectory. The other member of the wolf pack. It was.
You reckon it was that time?
Yes, because you moved into that other flat on your own, and Denny, bless you, Denny.
I mean, we're going to have to get another box of tissues here. She's flowing.
Oh,
we can cry about Denny later.
Okay.
Let's keep talking about it.
Okay. So when Denny and Carly, they basically came to you at the same time, kind of. And I just saw you grow and become courageous and become...
you owned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the timelines, we aren't like perfectly on point, but it is a period.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, there was a time where I made a decision to start sharing my journey on social media.
Yes.
I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get an Instagram and I'm actually going to talk about diabetes.
Yes.
And at that point, I didn't know anyone with diabetes. I hadn't even found people online who were talking about it. So I just started to like share my journey.
And actually, Drew, that was a critical time for my mental health because I no longer had to call you up every day, stalk you on WhatsApp to see if you logged onto the internet. I could see. I didn't have to ask you. I didn't have to be in your face.
Right.
And that gave me the courage to trust.
Yeah.
Because until then, I had lost trust in not you, in the world.
In everything. Yeah.
So your darkness journey helped me as a doctor enormously because I could sit with a type 1 diabetic in my office and said, I get it. I understand. It's just so difficult to get in the zone of sugar control. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And just those words, some of the patients would say, I've never heard that from a doctor.
Wow.
Because the doctors say, you will be like this, you got to do this.
Right.
It's unrealistic, it's too harsh. And when people say it's okay to get it wrong, it's okay to be out of range, it's you're doing your best, you're using all your options, including exercise, that helped me a lot as a doctor.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, I guess you're trained to direct the patient to hit certain numbers, to have a time in range, to get your bloods done. It's so objective. You forget about the subjective nature of the condition, which is like...
You're thinking about the science, but you forget about the human.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you find that... Did you have patients with type 1?
No.
So you hadn't ever like treated someone...
No.
Wow.
But that's because you subspecialize.
No, but that's because I'm a women's health gynae doctor.
But
I mean, I had people who were type 1 who were pregnant, but somebody else made the diagnosis.
Right.
And managed them.
And managed them, and they weren't my child. So yes, I dealt with people like that.
Right.
But I never actually had, a young patient because my demographic was different in medicine.
Right.
But it changed me too. I mean, I've always been a compassionate doctor and a compassionate person, and I invest a lot of time into each consultation that I do because unlike Dad, I don't see as many patients as him. And so there was always the very human side to our conversations. But experiencing something firsthand in the pain of your child makes you see things differently.
No.
But another thing,
My health.
And not because of you, obviously, but because of diabetes, and also probably my sister, who has every autoimmune disease that there is to have, except type 1 diabetes. And I mean, thank you to the universe for that, because she's got Parkinson's disease. How in the hell would she be able to inject herself? I just was like, I don't trust either.
Yeah.
Like, if this can go wrong, everything can go wrong.
So what were your thoughts around diabetes technology and management when I was diagnosed? Did you want me to be on a pump?
Oh, yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah. So obviously it was early days of CGMs, and there weren't pumps in the beginning, and they came later. But I was very interested in a closed loop system, which means the sugar levels tested via CGM will then allow a pump to deliver the appropriate insulin without the need for regular injections and over-testing. And I thought this is ideal for you. But it's something you kick back on a bit. And
you
what
push
was your
back.
reason?
I mean, I still to this day, I'm still on injections, and obviously I use a CGM now.
That was a game changer for me. You asked me what was a critical moment. Your CGM.
Why?
I know it only came recently.
Through the night testing.
But because I felt like it was, something magical that could keep you alive overnight. And I prayed and wished that you would have used one earlier on.
Why do you think I was so resistant to using a CGM, to wearing the Medic Alert bracelet,
Because I think you felt that it defined you and labelled you.
Also, I don't think you trusted the technology of a CGM. You said, now I know the sugar. I know the blood sugar, not the plasma sugar.
The interstitial
Interstitial,
fluid,
yeah.
I think that was just an excuse.
Yeah, you like control.
Yeah. I truly don't know the answer to that question that I asked. I'm really curious
and
to know.
I think in terms of a pump, very soon after your diagnosis, we could have got a pump. At the time, because of your age, they were not covered by government, and that would have cost.
Still aren't.
Okay, well, it was
$10,000,
those 50. It was more.
$10,000.
It was more in those days, like 24,000.
Right.
And I remember saying to Dad, if there's one reason in our life that we have worked hard to make money, it's so that we can buy this life-saving pump for our son. And then you're like, I'm not wearing a pump. I do not want to be attached to anything. I don't want to be identified by a pump. I won't be able to go and swim. And listen, we respected what you said. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing anyway.
Yeah, I think that those reasons are still true to this day.
Yeah.
Especially back then, if you think about where I was, early 20s, my career was in modeling.
Yeah.
So I was always shirt off, still am always shirt off.
Yeah.
But literally I had to use my image and body to make a living.
Yeah.
So having a pump attached to me, there's
Yes.
no way.
That
I'm not
makes
gonna get
absolute
booked.
sense.
I'm not going to get booked for any jobs, which means I have to get a quote unquote real job. So for me, it was, partly due to that. Then there was the whole wearing something that people could see. It was literally like a label that says I have diabetes.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of when I'm not wearing anything, no one can tell.
Yeah.
That is not the same today. Like now I wear my CGM, I've got a podcast.
Your
literally
Superman button.
Yeah, my superpower button.
Yeah.
Now I'm so proud to talk about it and wear it. And I'm not against a pump. I mean, there may be a day where I actually do start to use it. But right now with my management where it is.
Well, that's the thing. I think you're a really sensible, wise, enlightened human being that if your management was bad, you would then consider a pump.
100%.
So I think you made the right decision.
A trial would be interesting.
I would do a trial.
Yeah.
I would do
I did a month
and
I've learnt.
I will do that.
And that can help other people because you've got platforms to express advantages and disadvantages, and people can recognize that.
I will absolutely do that. I mean, it's no secret, Medtronic sponsored the podcast.
Yeah.
And they've got, this incredible system, the 780G.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a month on the pump.
Yeah.
See what it's
Give
like.
feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I can at least relate to everybody else who I talk to who is on a pump.
Yeah.
Because everyone raves about it. And the clinical outcomes are unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's lots of studies on
They've
it.
been game changers for some of my patients.
And I think just going back to what you said about the CGM, that actually for me was a turning point when I decided, why did I decide to go on the CGM? I'm trying to remember. Oh, because I did the bike race.
That's right.
210 kilometer bike race. I'm thinking,
Not enough time to check.
I can't get off the bike and check my blood glucose.
Yeah.
I thought I'd wear a CGM for 10 days, use it while I'm on this bike race so that I can manage my diabetes right in real time. When I took it off after the 10-day, trial, I felt like I was in the dark. Like I just couldn't, I didn't know what my numbers were. I wanted to know all the time. I wanted to just pick up my phone and check. When you go back to finger pricks, it's like you've taken 10 steps backwards.
Yeah.
So that was for me huge. And then it also at night gave me the confidence.
Yeah, because that used to scare me. I mean, I had a few horrible experiences with having the gut feel of a mother, knowing that something wasn't right. You weren't in my presence. Once you were in America playing rugby, and once you were in your flat in Dover Heights. So the America rugby one, you used to text me, or I used to look on WhatsApp to see if you'd logged on to the internet, and you hadn't. And you hadn't, and you hadn't, and it was out of character. And I was freaking out. And then about 8 or 10 hours later, you called me and you said, Mom, I nearly went to hospital because I had such a bad migraine. Mm. So that was one gut feel that was true. And the other one, you were meant to meet somebody for a coffee on a Sunday morning. You never arrived. They called me, told me you hadn't arrived. I went to your house. I didn't have a key because your door had been changed and you hadn't yet given me a key. And I bashed on your door. I screamed and bashed. I left, went to wherever I was, came back. I was about to call the police. And you came to the door and you said, oh my God, Mom, I should have given you a key. I'm not well.
Mm. Was I sick or was I just hungover? What was that?
No, you were sick. I think, you were sick.
Had some flu or something.
Yeah, you had a flu.
Yeah, I mean, like diabetes technology, I think people who don't have diabetes and see a CGM, they don't understand the power of this device and how important it is. Like it's literally
a lifesaver. It's a magic button.
It truly is.
Yeah. So
technology-wise, when you look at me today, what do you think about my trajectory? Do you think I keep doing what I'm doing, or do I embrace some new tech and try the pump? And
No, I want you to try. I really want you to try the pump. I want to hear from you why it works and why it doesn't work for you.
Let's talk about exercise. For me, obviously, the pillar of my health sort of stems from that. We all have our own unique relationships with exercise. When I say the word exercise to you, what comes to mind in relation to how I manage my diabetes?
To me, it's one of your golden tools because you will go to exercise before you go to anything else. And you put it in your program so that it fits exactly. Like you know what your shoes are going to do. Is it going to go up or is it going to go down depending on the type of exercise? And then you put the insulin around it. And people get unstuck when they do the insulin first and then throw the exercise in, and then they realize, oh no, I'm going the wrong way. Exercise is not good for me. But you use it as a brilliant tool, and you did that from day one. When you weren't on insulin and you had a high sugar on waking up, and you literally was day one, and you then burnt a session through anger and frustration, and sugar came back to normal.
Yeah, but I didn't know at that point.
No, but there was an awakening.
There was, absolutely. It was an awakening, and it also makes me think, going back to our conversation before, how long was I doing that unknowingly?
Well, that's correct.
Like how many years had I been delaying my diagnosis because of my, daily dose of exercise?
That's why I go back to when you were studying for your HSC and you weren't exercising and you were just studying and studying and you got skinny and you looked unwell. And on reflection, I think that was probably when things started to get a bit unstuck.
Yeah, everyone's speed to diagnosis is different, right? Like the velocity at which you get there. Maybe mine was 3 years of that honeymoon, whatever you want to call it.
I cannot understand why it would be called a honeymoon phase. Like they really need to rename that.
Yeah, it's a very silly name.
It's a very silly name.
Do you remember that workout that you were saying? Do you remember that period when I had that moment?
Yeah.
Do you also?
I do, and I remember that's the moment that gave you hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had some control again.
Right. That was the first time that I actually felt that I could do something about my health.
Without exogenous insulin.
Right. At that point, my pancreas may have been making some. I can't really remember the exact details of had we tested C-peptide.
It was only a few weeks before you started taking insulin.
Yeah. So I still can't believe this, that there was like a period of days after that blood glucose reading that we got, sitting down in the office with the educator, where my blood glucose was like 16 or 17. I wasn't sent home with insulin straight away.
Yeah.
People can't believe that. What do you think the reason was for not being
Because you
given-
had background of 2 or 3 weeks of testing reasonable control. So they had an assumption that your pancreas was still functional.
Right.
If they gave you the insulin on top of your endogenous insulin, you could be in big trouble quickly.
Right.
So they wanted to measure that first.
Right.
And I think it was the right thing.
I agree. I think it was a great decision, but I've heard people in like comments in relation, like when I did other podcasts speaking of my story, they've said, that's such dangerous advice to not be given insulin. If your blood glucose is high too long, ketoacidosis and rush to hospital in a coma or whatever it is. People don't understand that we'd done 2 weeks of background testing.
Yeah.
As you say, my fasting blood glucose was normal, even postprandially.
Postprandial was normal too.
Yeah. So what do you think happened on that particular day where I got the blood glucose of 17?
That was straight after a meal.
Right.
And you hadn't exercised.
Right. But there were times, I'll say that again. There were times though where I would check my blood glucose after meals in the week before and it was normal. Why on that day was my blood glucose?
Was it a carbohydrate load?
No, hold on a minute. I do remember. I remember that they said to you, if you get a cold or you're unwell, you might
precipitate.
The train might crash, and it will precipitate diabetes. And you had a cold.
Right. So getting some kind of sickness.
Correct.
Your liver glucose kinetics changes, and then all of a sudden, glucose enters from the liver, but also the way that your pancreas responds to the meal is different. Because we literally went to a cafe. I remember it so clearly. That day I'll never forget. But we were sitting there. I ate a big piece of toast. At this point, I had no idea that I had diabetes or that I was even going to get it. And then when she saw my blood glucose was 17, she said, "Did you eat breakfast on the way over here?" And we're like, "Yeah, we just went to a cafe and had some sourdough." She's like, "I'm so sorry. You've got type 1 diabetes."
Yeah.
But also, from what I recall, you had chronic sinusitis at the same time. And that was an ongoing problem. And maybe that was also one of the triggers for you to have a very high sugar on that day. You were in a constant state of inflammation. And there's another secret that I missed was, why did you have chronic sinusitis? Well, of course, because you were growing, because you were sweet.
Yeah, yeah. I do remember. I remember getting sick, tonsillitis,
very easily.
Every 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
For a few months.
Yep. You got glandular
so
fever,
frustrated.
and then you got sick, and then more sick, and it never got better. And you had the sinusitis. You couldn't sing anymore.
Yeah.
Your voice changed.
Right. That was actually scary for me as well.
Very.
Because I loved music and singing, and I was playing gigs all over Sydney, like literally 3-4 nights a week. Do you remember? I would like
Totally.
It's actually crazy. I used to do this. I'd have like speakers and like the whole system, the whole sound system in my car. Show up to the bar or the pub, set it up myself, play for like 3 sets.
Yeah. I remember that in Newtown.
Yeah, Newtown, Bondi, all over. And
competition somewhere.
Yeah, like the basement, some tickets, all this stuff. And then I remember getting the diagnosis and having this sinus issue. And then I had the surgery for my sinus. That was actually where I thought like my future is so grim. I can't sing, so music career is gone.
Yep.
Throw that away. My health, like physically, my body is like wasted away. So I'm going to be throw that away. So I can't be athletic. I can't play sport anymore. I can't sing. I actually looked very sick. And then I rebounded with huge weight gain. So modeling was gone. Throw that away. And I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So you
what
know,
was that weight gain story? Was it?
That was after insulin.
Yeah.
So I was on quite a lot of insulin when I sort of started taking it.
yeah.
Right. So it's growth factors and
Yeah, just, I mean, essentially the nutrients.
Nutrition.
Yeah, the calories are getting
Yeah.
into the cells,
Yeah.
right?
And, you know, they say a parent is only as happy as their unhappiest child. And I believe that a parent's unhappiness is different from a child's unhappiness, but it certainly is multiplied by 1 billion. And so seeing you how you were and knowing all of these factors that you just mentioned now and thinking myself that they were gone was the darkest time of my life.
Yeah, it was a really scary, unknown, you know, you're sort of navigating this terrain that you've never walked before.
Yeah.
Don't know how to deal with it. You try to speak to people. Sometimes they say things that help. Sometimes they say things that are not helpful.
Yeah.
You know, I had some good moments with like athletes that really gave me some hope.
Yeah.
And I think you need to lean on role models. What about now? Like when you look at me today, how do you feel? Because we've spoken about all the darkness and all the
let's
tears.
cheer it up.
Let's cheer it up a little
Let's
bit.
cheer it up. I think you are a highly, highly successful, technical type 1 diabetic, expert. I still think, and this is natural and not a criticism, that you carry anxiety with it because it keeps you safe. And you keep getting thrown curveballs as diabetics. You know, you may get delayed gastric emptying or you've got insulin and you can't get the sugar on board. There's some stressful moments, and that's part of what it is. I think you're doing really well. Super proud.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point about the anxiety. It can be a healthy stressor.
Yes.
You don't want no anxiety.
No.
You want
It
some.
keeps you on your
Absolutely.
toes.
Right, because this, again, let's not
You're
pretend
responsible.
it's a safe, this
No.
is a very dangerous condition.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think I make it look too easy and that I should share more of the bad times on social media, because if I'm only sharing, you know, this picture of this, you know, the guy thriving with diabetes.
Time in range.
Yeah, time in range over
It's
85%.
true, Andrew,
and
it's true.
like maybe it's best to, you know,
Just make it real.
I might even do a series now that we've spoken about this, where I'll do, you know, like a series of videos of like the top 10 things that I fucking hate about diabetes, or the hurdles that I face that I have to jump over, or the difficulties.
Yeah.
Why I'm out of range.
Right.
And there may be a reason, and
Or there may be no
you
reason.
know it's going to end.
Right. Yeah.
So, in answer to your question, how do I see you now? I see you as hope. I see you as integrity. And I see you as the person that I had prayed for when you got type 1 diabetes. I prayed for somebody like you to be there, to guide us all, to give us the hope.
As an example.
As an example, as a contact, as a guide.
Yeah,
That's what I prayed and hoped for. So when I see you as the culmination of everything I had prayed for other people and for yourself and for us.
Right.
Because knowing how you are, seeing how you are,
thriving.
I'm not naive. I'm a doctor with gaps in my knowledge about type 1 diabetes, but just seeing how you handle the bad days, and there are many of those, and how you fly with the good days, and there are many of those, and how this too shall change, and nothing is the same from one minute to the other. But when I see you, I see hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. So if I said to you 13 and a half years ago when I was diagnosed, if I said, what are the emotions that come up when I say type 1 diabetes, what are the 3 words or emotions that would come to mind?
Okay. So for any family out there, if they're getting this diagnosis, shock, that's normal. Denial, anger, normal. But don't worry, there's a way out and the future's good.
Mm-hmm. And when you think about a good future for someone, so if we're thinking who's listening now, probably people with diabetes of all ages, kids and adults, but also parents of kids, what's the advice you give to get from that feeling of my life is over, it'll never be the same again, to I'm going to live a great, happy, healthy, long life?
It's you. It's you. You are the model of overcoming adversity with diabetes. So attach to someone like you, get advice from someone like you, and go forward. It's not so negative.
Right. But for the individual, right? So what are the steps that they need to take, aside from finding role models and listening to things? Like if you were to advise someone on like a day-to-day lifestyle level, what are the things that you think will help somebody thrive with diabetes?
So different things at different periods of diabetes, obviously, because most people don't get diagnosed like you, Drew. Most people are in hospital, either in a coma, in ICU. So it's a shock. I'm so grateful that didn't happen. So it's a very different thing for most diabetics. And then they have a whole team with them in hospital for maybe a week, a month, whatever it is, and then a team that comes home with them. And they're mostly children as well. So they're the parents, that are there. It's shocking, but that are there.
Yeah.
But for us, as Dad said, you asked what the 3 words were. I would say horror. I would say fear. And I would say fear. Those are my 3 words, because I was so afraid for your present at the time and for your future, which is now, which is also your present. And I am not fearful anymore. I'm not anticipatory. Like I'm respectful.
Yeah.
But I'm not petrified and fearful.
Yeah.
And that's been my journey.
I definitely would throw in embrace technology, because it's so good now, So a newly diagnosed diabetic who can always access the glucose numbers with the CGM, can get on a pump and doesn't have to fear the needles coming at them all the time. This is powerful.
It is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So lean on technology.
Education.
Educate. And I mean, my pillars of wellness are very obvious: exercise, nutrition, mindfulness.
Oh, yeah,
which is
I was going to say
pillar.
that. Mindfulness is huge.
Right. Which is just paying attention, being aware, being present, focusing, perspective, focus on the things in your life that really do bring you joy. Seek those things, do them. Don't live in that darkness longer than you need to.
Yes.
Because you can live a great life with diabetes, but it is also dangerous. And like you say, we need to be realistic.
Yes.
And you can't just look at someone on social media and think, oh, look how easy that is. They've got it covered. There's things about diabetes that you don't see.
Yes.
On social media, or even probably that you don't see of mine, that we deal with in silence and on our own. And I think like the network and support, like think about now compared to when I was diagnosed, I didn't know anyone with diabetes. Now I know hundreds, if not thousands, thanks to the internet and these social media platforms. So like the online community is a big thing I think people need to lean on.
Yeah, and that's why I say if there was one thing I would have, that I wished for, was you.
A mentor.
A mentor who was, accessible, affable, available. That makes a huge difference to people, a huge difference to people. And also, I think there should be a community for parents of type 1 diabetics, because there's your support and you support all the type 1s. But for us, there was nothing, and there still is nothing.
Well, I think it's out there. And you can definitely,
maybe for parents of
JDRF
children.
right.
Right. There's definitely like places you can find and speak to people. But that's also why I want to do these retreats. I want to get people together in real life.
Yes, I think
parents
that's
and
brilliant.
kids all together in one place. Everyone
Good
either
idea.
has diabetes or knows someone with diabetes or has a child.
Well, it's like the Danny Foundation ball that we went to. Because every single person there was connected some way with type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, you need your tribe. You need to feel like you've got your tribe and feel supported. So just to close that loop, so when you look at me today, is the fear gone?
Yes.
So what's the...
The fear is gone. That paralyzing fear is gone. Okay. I mean, you worry about a healthy child.
Sure.
Okay. You worry about somebody you love and your offspring. You worry about that. So, and I'm not going to call you unhealthy, because I actually truly believe you are a healthy person living with type 1 diabetes. But of course, I'm cautious. I'm always concerned,
Yeah.
Sure.
but not
So-
in a paralyzing way
A
anymore.
healthy
And
dose of anxiety.
yes, a healthy dose of
So-
anxiety.
For me, the fear is, can there be a complication,
Mhm.
even with good control?
Right.
And there's an X factor out there, and we don't know what it is. The X factor is what protects you from complications.
Right.
We got type 1 and type 2s who've had terrible control and never get a complication.
So maybe like a genetic protection
We
or
don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what it is, because then we could source it.
right.
So I always worry about complications, because that's my
Sure.
apex of my pyramid of what I do.
Exactly.
So that's what I worry about.
People, when you see the person with diabetes, they're coming to you with the complication.
Correct.
Or I'm sure you're also doing like
Screening.
screening and
But not a lot.
right.
So most of the screening has led to a diagnosis through other sources, diabetic clinics, optometrists, and whatever.
Right. And I think that's what was so scary for me when I was diagnosed, was knowing that you were treating people who were losing their sight
Yeah.
because of diabetes. And then I thought, well, that's my fate. I'm going to
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure
yeah.
go
Well,
blind one day.
That's what Dad, he
Yeah, I
You know,
had some
he-
issues.
he admitted to me that every time he looked into an eye,
A diabetic.
a
so I-
diabetic eye, he
saw
saw your
you.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a conflict there.
Oof.
It was tough.
Yeah.
But I'm good now. I don't see you anymore.
Wow, what a conversation. I mean, we haven't spoken like this for so long.
I don't think we've ever really spoken like this, because when we really needed to, it was so raw.
It was too soon.
It was too painful. You were trying to protect yourself, and we were trying to be euphemistic and protect you. But now that everybody is,
We've lived
safe,
it as a family.
in the history of the diagnosis, and we see, hope,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we can now have the conversation because it's not too painful.
Yeah. It's
But
important.
also the other thing I want to get out there, because everyone's listening to doom and gloom, we are really, really good at managing complications.
Right.
So if someone's not right, we can get them right.
Do you mean in terms of the medical profession?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can fix the eyes, we can protect the kidneys.
Right.
We're better at dealing with the leg issues. So
Right.
there's always hope.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So even if you have poorly controlled diabetes, you've got options to firstly improve your management using technology, which has been shown to work very well, pumps and CGMs and closed loop systems. If you are somebody who was undiagnosed for many years as a type 2 potentially, or poor control as a type 1, and you have some complications, there are teams of specialists who can help at least
100%.
treat them.
Yeah.
It's
Don't
not
give
like
up.
your fate
Yeah.
is, so if someone's just been diagnosed,
Yeah.
it's not as if their fate is all of the opathies, retinopathy, neuropathy,
Yeah.
nephropathy.
For me, that was all the opathies
Yeah.
in your diagnosis, and
Yeah.
even worse than opathies.
Yeah.
That for me, that's how it felt.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we close the show with my favorite segment, which I know you both wrote your letters, Mum, I just want to give you a chance to, if you could go back and give advice to yourself or the listener who is a parent or somebody who's just been diagnosed, they just started this journey of diabetes, what's some advice you would give?
That the opposite of darkness is light. And although it feels incredibly dark at the time of diagnosis, knowing what we know now, as Dad just said, with technology and treatments and all the other things that are available, it's not a death sentence. It's only a word. It's diabetes. And yes, we have to be true to ourselves. It is a dangerous illness, but it shouldn't be doom and gloom in its entirety. But you also have to allow yourself to grieve.
Yeah.
All right, who wants to go first?
I think I'll go first
Okay.
because she might cry for another hour. So you asked me to write a letter to diabetes.
Yes.
So about an hour ago, I
You wrote the
this
letter? Yeah, but it's been in there for many
Yeah,
years.
yeah. So Dear Diabetes, you first entered my life when I was a young medical student, striking me like a bolt of lightning. I was working in intensive care, caring for a young patient with type 1 diabetes who was suffering from ketoacidosis and multiple organ failure. The experience was a profound shock, and I struggled to understand how this could happen. Back in the early 1980s, diabetic screening and management options were limited, and it wasn't uncommon for patients to fall through the cracks, resulting in severe complications like organ failure. As I progressed in my medical career, first as a doctor and later as an eye specialist, I was invited by Professor Yu, head of diabetes at Prince Alfred Hospital, to help manage the ocular aspects of diabetes. My role involved screening and caring for both type 1 and type 2 diabetics. I saw a lot of complications, as these patients were the ones with advanced issues, while those without complications lived relatively normal lives. I found myself at the forefront of managing these complex cases, and in time, I learned how to help patients navigate their condition. Laser treatment was introduced as a therapeutic option for diabetic retinopathy, and I quickly learned how to integrate this into my care strategy. I took on a senior role, sharing my growing knowledge of diabetes with endocrinologists throughout Sydney's hospitals. I gave lectures and ran diabetes clinics, always striving to take a holistic approach that included exercise and diet as crucial components in managing and preventing complications. But diabetes became even more personal when Drew was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. His condition presented gradually, and his commitment to healthy diet and exercise regime initially masked the early signs. But as he lost weight and began feeling unwell, Jill did some blood tests, revealing his HbA1c was slightly elevated, suggesting the onset of type 1. I immediately called upon my network of experts at Sydney University, Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, and colleagues in the US to explore ways to halt the progression of the disease, hoping his pancreas still had some function. Despite our efforts, diabetes made its presence known, and the diagnosis was clear. Sitting in the consultation room with my colleagues and Drew, I was overcome with shock. I remember wishing the pathology report had my name on it instead of Drew's. I wanted to take on this burden for him. To understand what he would go through, I even tried self-injecting without insulin, experiencing the discomfort he would endure for the rest of his life. In some ways, I silently suffered for him. This period marked a deep depression in my life, one that took me 6 months to a year to overcome. Watching Drew navigate his first year with diabetes was incredibly challenging, and I felt his struggle intensely. Diabetes, you taught me over those months just how complex and difficult managing a metabolic disorder can be. It brought me closer to my patients, fostering a deeper empathy and a more supportive way of talking about the ups and downs of type 1 diabetes. You showed me that diabetes is a disease of imperfections, a daily complex exercise in control and management. You also taught me that the numbers don't tell the full story. Behind those numbers are patients with feelings, anxieties, and a relentless desire to achieve the best control they can. Drew and diabetes taught me the incredible power of exercise in managing blood sugar levels, but also how challenging it is to maintain a stable glucose curve. Our entire family has explored diet manipulation to improve diet management, ultimately adopting a predominantly plant-based diet, which has brought us numerous benefits. Today, I can say I'm a much better doctor for having lived with diabetes through Drew. You, diabetes, have taught me lessons in empathy, managing chronic illnesses, navigating metabolic disorders. You also shown me how to look at life more positively, even in the face of adversity. I continue to dream of a cure and stay updated on the latest research, holding on to hope that one day we'll find a way to eliminate diabetes for good.
Bravo. Pac-Man.
Hello,
Pac-Man.
my hand's here.
Beautiful letter.
Okay.
Give him a tissue.
Mine is a bit different.
All right, I'll give it a wipe.
Please do.
Okay.
No, that was really well written.
Not bad for 20 seconds.
Very good.
Dear diabetes, a long time has passed since you snuck like a ghost into my life. I was not expecting you, and strangely for a long time you were hidden in plain sight, screamingly present and strangely invisible. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, but the horror of your arrival stole the most valued treasure of good health from my beloved son and broke my heart and mind into a billion pieces. I saw you pocket the dreams and hopes of a young man and simultaneously those of a mother. I really detested you. Diabetes, you made me doubt myself as a mother and as a doctor. You smashed my confidence and made me question the meaning of life. You made me watch my brave son suffer. You caused me to drown in the river that I cried. You propelled my mind to such inexplicably bad places that my eyes could no longer pretend. I failed to protect my child from my own fear. You brought such incredible darkness that I honestly believed dawn would not rise again. But, my dear diabetes, you most certainly chose the right subject in whom to display your silver lining. You made home in an inspiring human who took you on as a mandatory family member. He accepted you with all your flaws and introduced this side of you to me. You helped to attract supportive, resilient, and patient people and gave me the courage to remove the negative influences. While I do not exactly trust you, I accept you. I forgave you a long time ago because holding on to hate was like swallowing poison. There are days when your conduct is exemplary, and I am grateful to you for your lessons. At these times, I see your purpose and meaning. But to be honest, I'm not sure that Drew really needed this type of assistance from you. I have not forgotten you, especially when you rear your ugly head and misbehave. Weirdly, although you shattered me and my family, you also assisted in rebuilding and remodeling a different, stronger version of all of us. Over the years, I have prayed that you would go away and that somebody shrewder than you would outsmart you and make you disappear. I have learned not to waste my energy and instead accept that you are here to stay. Not only are you a hard pill to swallow, but you are always a prick. I stole that from you. Diabetes, you belong to our whole family as a life partner, and we navigate both calm and turbulence together. You do not define us. You have helped to refine us. You gave Drew an extra stage for his voice, and you exposed his superpowers. I respect you greatly, but would celebrate with vigor if you decided to leave. No hard feelings, but please be kind.
Wow.
Well done.
Wow. Top of the class in English, that's for
Creative.
sure.
Creative, eh?
We did it, guys.
Yeah.
It's quite therapeutic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel writing those letters? It's quite an interesting way to
Yeah.
let it
I
out.
was so angry last night after I wrote the letter. I couldn't sleep. I was like,
Wow. You're an
You
emotional little
bastard.
thing, aren't you?
yeah, I am.
Well, I'm
You
so
know?
glad that you guys joined me today in doing this.
That was great.
Wow.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming
we
and
feel
what an awesome experience.
Well, I
to
hope
so
do
honored
this.
to have your old parents here with you,
I love it.
and that you trust us enough to be with you to tell your story, and for you to know that we'll always be here at your side. You are our leader. You're a remarkable human being.
Thank you. Well, you guys are the most supportive, loving parents in the whole world, and I'm just so grateful. So thanks.
And life's a mirror.
Thanks for listening to my conversation with my mum and dad. I hope it gives you the courage to sit down with the people closest to you to free yourself of anything that you need to get off your chest in relation to diabetes. Remember, you don't have to do diabetes alone. Lean on the people around you. I'll see you next time for another dose of inspiration and education.